So I've gotten a few comments on my TikToks asking like about producing tips and stuff like that. So I figured I'm going to rank the 12 most common ones I see based off how actually useful they are, right? So S tier would be shit that's like, yes, do this. This is good. Whereas D is like, don't do this. This literally hinders you. So what we're going to start with is one of the worst fucking pieces of advice I have ever heard. And it is to high pass everything. You know, there's a certain point where you need to cut every instrument, every sample, every VST that isn't the actual bass track. Every single mix I've heard that's had this done to it has sounded like airy. Sure, there's no mud, but there's also just nothing, right? It just feels unfinished, unconnected. The bass feels too separate from the rest of the mix. I'll put it in C. You have to almost take this advice on a per sample, per instrument basis. You can't really apply this to your entire track. So the next one, we're going to go music theory is a tool, but not a rule. I actually kind of agree with this one. You know, I do know a good chunk of music theory. It's one of the classes I took in college. It depends on the kind of music you're trying to make, if that makes sense. But there's also no downside to learning it. Either way, though, there are various, like, again, there's so many producers out there that don't know a lick of music theory, right? It's all by ear. I would put this in an A. Actually, no, I'd put it in B. Yeah, I don't think you should just fucking throw the idea of it out the window. Okay, then we got the 80-20 rule. Basically, the concept of it is that you spend 80% of your time doing the production and then 20% of your time watching tutorials. I have heard different versions. I've heard 70-30. I've heard 90-10. This is good when you're starting out, but there is a point, especially with the genre I make, metalcore, where the YouTube tutorials aren't enough. There are going to be certain genres, like I said, metal's a big one, where a lot of it's either industry secrets, it's stuff that only like the circle of producers share with each other, and because of that, I personally don't watch many tutorials anymore. I do most of the shit I do from trial and error. But if you're just trying to make beats and shit, I would put this in I'd put this in A. I agree with that one. Next one, I picked a really stupid image, but this is the finish it habit, right? If you start a song, if you start a beat, if you start a track, finish it, right? Even if it's bad, finish that shit. I've had so many songs that like in the first few hours of mixing sounded like shit, but then I changed the melody just a little bit. Maybe there was a setting I hadn't tweaked. It was just one or two things. I figured them out and all of a sudden, banger, right? So go through the pipeline every single time. Do not just quit midway. I would actually put this in S tier. That is an amazing piece of advice. The next one is reference tracks. This isn't comparison. This is referencing. Recreate songs by ear. A lot of people see it, especially like the fucking elitists. A lot of people see it as like, you need to be original, right? But when you're just starting out and you're trying to learn the basics, copying songs will get you very far. That would also be some S tier advice. I enjoy that. Again, I used that. The next one is going to be mixing magic, like sweet spots. Oh, I can't change this mixing because it's supposed to be good, right? I can't change this mixing because it worked on a song a month ago. The thing about mixing is it's going to be unique to every song you make. It should be. It doesn't have to be mind-bendingly unique. Simple things here and there to keep things different and to learn. A big one I've always seen is like compression. Use a 4:1 ratio on vocals. Always set your tech to 10 milliseconds. That's been a big one on everything. I set mine, especially with the multiband, to 0. You can't just apply things to an entire genre. Compression, EQ, all that stuff, it's all dependent on your source material. If you have a sample that already has multiband compression on it, you add more, it's going to sound like air, like completely dry, just like a raw sample. You're going to have to mix all that from scratch. Applying mixing rules to everything kind of takes some, in my opinion, some of the fun out of music. Now, I'm not against templates. That's different. Templates are great for a starting point, but every single time the mixing changes throughout the song as I'm writing it. All that template does is make it not sound ear-piercing and shit at the very start, which, by the way, comment if you want those templates. Tier list, I would put this in low C because, like I said, templates are still good. Being fully reliant on them and not changing them is bad. This one I see a lot on Reddit, armpit ballsack of the internet. This one is never boost an EQ, only cut. This is one of the worst pieces of advice I've ever fucking heard. It has no benefit. Like boosting is unnatural or some bullshit. I don't even understand the basis of this one. Boosting certain frequencies can make entire samples and sounds sound different. This is gonna be our first D tier. Do not do that. Do not take that advice to heart. That is bad. The next one, mix in mono. I don't know if this is good. I've never heard of people say this is good. Like I said, I did find this take on Reddit, but most of the people in the comments were like, this is stupid, don't do it. It was just like one guy, but I felt like I needed to include it. The thing that annoys me is stereo is integral to modern music. Switching your shit to mono for a little bit, like you can fix some shit that's phasing, but if you don't hear it in stereo, then most people aren't going to hear it anyway. Most people listen on stereo these days. It's not 2006 anymore. It can be good for identifying certain things, like if you want your music to have the widest reach, that's a big one. If you want it to be like hyper professionally mixed, that's a big one. So I'll put this one in like a low B. Here's one. Compare your tracks to the most popular ones in the genre. Don't do this. This isn't the same as referencing. Comparison is like, oh, listening to the mix of this super popular song and then comparing it to my song, right? And then going like, oh my god, I can't mix for shit. Or vice versa, going like, oh my god, that song is horrible mixing. Why is it so popular? All this is going to do is hurt you mentally. With metal, when I was starting out, my shit sounded muddy. It sounded empty. It sounded boring. Then I would compare it to like the fucking, at the time, Bring Me the Horizon dropped a new album. I listened to the production on that and I was like, how the fuck did they do this? I don't know how they do this. After a while of fucking wallowing in my own misery, I was like, I'm going to download these tracks and I'm going to look at them on a spectrogram. I'm going to look at them in some frequency analyzers. I'm going to look at them on a lot of shit. And that's when I discovered OTT. Comparison can be bad, but it can lead you to the path of referencing, which can actually make your music improve. So you need to have the mentality for it. But I would say if you're just doing raw comparison and like just getting in your own head and getting mad, that's like shit. Don't do that. Here's a take: is sound selection trumps mixing. Depends on the genre. Again, the whole idea is like, oh, you can't polish a turd, right? You can't polish a turd. But if you are any well-respected producer, once you put through the correct kind of mixing, you can give energy to it. But at the same time, if your shit's out of key, if your shit just doesn't sound good and you put professional mixing on it, you get sleep token. So it's like, oh, it's mid, but it's professionally mixed, so you can't really call it horrible. I do agree with this one. I would say this is high A. This one, plugin collection. I have had a history with this one myself. Oh, the reason I'm bad at mixing, right? The reason I'm shit at mixing is I don't have Ozone. I don't have Ozone 11. I don't have Ozone 12. Yes, these plugins are good. They are very good, but you can do everything you need to do with free plugins. I didn't download a third-party plugin until OTT in like 2023, right? That was 4 years after I started. It's all about how you use what you're given. Now, if you have like the most basic version of FL Studio, you aren't given a lot. That is where like, again, stuff like Ozone comes in and you have like an all-in-one plugin that has everything you need. I only really use Ozone on the masters though. Kind of shit advice. I think if you have this mentality, you are actually just shooting yourself in the foot. Here's the next and final piece of advice. This one pisses me off a lot. Never use samples. I don't know who the fuck started this one. I don't know if it's like elitists or what. Why? You don't get any extra benefit out of not using a sample outside of like maybe avoiding copyright depending on how you got the sample. Sampling is like integral to music these days. Huge. Just again, look at my TikToks. Look how many fucking K-pop and J-pop groups use this shit. But yeah, this is hot trash. Don't listen to anyone who says that. And all right, that's our list. At the very top, we have finish your songs and reference your tracks. A tier, we've got good sound design, pick good samples, pick good music, write good music, and then the 80-20 rule. 80% of your time spent making the music, 20% watching tutorials. Then on B tier, we have music theory is a tool, not a rule. And then we have mix your shit in mono. C tier, we have high cut everything except for the bass. And then we have rely on presets. And then D tier, we have no boosting and EQs, compare your music, collect all the plugins, and don't use samples. There's probably a shitload more on here, like a big one I would say, use this plugin and do this, copy my mixing. You have to learn this shit yourself. You cannot in one fucking YouTube video, in 10 fucking YouTube videos, learn how to mix the perfect song. It is an art form. Do you think Van Gogh picked up one book and was like, yes, this one page on here, I will become famous? It's your musical talent, your audio engineering talent, you will not get signed to a fucking label overnight because you watched a 20-minute YouTube video. And you need to apply that logic to this one too. While I have my opinions on all of these pieces of advice here, other people have different opinions. And the reason they have those opinions is because they make different music, and it's because they have a different outlook on all this shit. I know I'm going on a rant here and I'm saying the same thing 18 times. It's something I do, but I just really need to drive home that fact. But yeah, that's the list. So if you liked it, you know what to do. Liketh and subscribeth. Let me know what other pieces of advice you've been a victim of, or some advice that's actually fucking amazing and has worked for you. I would love to hear that. I need to take a shit.